I give the call to the member for Macquarie.
I move the motion relating to home care packages in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper.
I thank the member for Macquarie. The member for Macquarie has the call.
Deputy Speaker, when Meryl from Glenbrook put up a post on Facebook looking for suggestions on garden help for her ageing parents, she didn't expect the torrent of comments about delays for aged care in-home help that it triggered. Meryl's parents in Blaxland have been assessed for an aged care in-home package. They were approved for a low level of care, but have found out that even though they don't need a lot of support, they could be on a waiting list for 3 years before a package becomes available. So she's trying to source private help that will ensure her parents are able to maintain their independence with dignity. Of course, they realise there are many others with much, much greater needs, but as Meryl said to me, you don't know about these things until it suddenly hits your family. And sadly, it's hitting lots of families. We don't have the December quarter figures yet for some reason, but the most recent ones showed that there are 120,000 older Australians waiting for their approved home care package, with many waiting more than 2 years for the care that they have been approved for. Now, this has occurred on this government's watch. This isn't anybody else's legacy. It's not anyone else's fault. It's the direct result of this government's failure to have any plan for aged care to support people in a practical way and fund it appropriately. The number of older Australians waiting for in-home care grew from 88,000 to 120,000 since 2017. More than 16,000 older Australians have died waiting for their approved home care package that they were assessed for in 2017-18. Now, I want you to think about those numbers. That's around 300 older Australians who died each week in that year from over that period waiting for care, having been told that, yes, you should have some help, but then just left waiting. There are also the 14,000 older Australians who had no choice but to enter residential aged care prematurely because they couldn't get care in their home that they were assessed and approved for in 2017-18. Now, sadly, that's around 200 older Australians each week having no other choice but to enter residential aged care. These are huge numbers, and it's an indictment on the funding that is available and the packages that are available. They're damning numbers. And then the Prime Minister claims that there's been, and I quote, unprecedented aged care improvements to help ensure older Australians receive the care they want and deserve where and when they need it. Well, close quote. Well, his words just do not match the facts on the ground. It feels more that the Prime Minister has sacrificed everything to the surplus dragon, preemptively claiming victory and squeezing the funds out of every vulnerable group he can, including older people who want to stay in their homes. Alan from Blaxland has also been approved for low-level support, enough to make a difference to him and his wife, for whom he's the primary carer. But now he faces a long wait for the service to be delivered. And then, to add insult to injury, the funding might eventually become available, but the providers in our region don't have the capacity to deliver it, because that's another issue, the workforce. This government's failed to invest in the people who deliver services. Blue Mountains and Hawkesbury residents on the edge of Sydney have low access to services based locally. Those that are local tend to be snapped up fast, so people are all too often reliant on services outside the area and they have to agree to travel to us. And now the government's pushing to change the way it pays the providers of in-home care. Instead of paying upfront and allowing them to draw down on that, it wants to pay them after the service has been delivered. Complete reverse of model. Doesn't sound like much of a switch, makes a massive difference for cash flow, especially for the smaller services. And it puts them at a real cash flow risk. It's just the opposite of what our local economy needs as we're trying to recover from bushfires and with the threat of coronavirus ahead of us, on top of what was already a pretty flat economic situation. And of course, it also comes on the back of attempts to privatise the ACAT assessments for in-home aged care. Now, those assessments are done by the states, and from the feedback I receive, they're pretty much the only step of the process that goes smoothly. It's timely, it's respectful, and it meets the needs of older people and their families. After hitting a brick wall of disapproval, I am relieved that the government has backed down from that plan. But fancy the Royal Commissioner feeling the need to refute the claim that he had somehow endorsed the move. Clearly, the government isn't really interested in the Royal Commission findings or what's best for elderly people. Its response is inadequate and really it's put the budget first.